everybody, it's Alyssa. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing my first reading channel video in my new apartment. If you guys want to see my weekly apartment moving vlogs, I have them on my main channel, which I will put down below for you guys to check out if you're interested. I'm finally getting to do a video on this channel and I am very excited for this video because I am doing my first readathon, and this is called Readathon of the Soul. Here is my bullet journal spread if you guys want to pause it and look at it. I posted a picture of it on my Twitter. This is run by KZ on Twitter, which I will put the links for all of her information down below, and she also has an Instagram, so I'll put that down below as well. I don't know it off the top of my head. This is the first readathon I am ever doing, and I had to do it because it was BTS related. I've been a BTS stan since February, which is not very long for most people, but BTS and K-pop in general has kind of taken over the booktube community, I've noticed. So I just feel like this readathon will be good for a lot of booktubers. I'm very excited. I have all but one prompt ready. It starts August 20th, which if I get it up today, that's today. So I'm showing you guys my TBR for Readathon of the Soul. I've got my coffee ready for this video and we're just gonna get started. The reason it's called Readathon of the Soul, if you don't know, BTS's newer album called Persona, it's called Map of the Soul Persona. So that's why on my bullet journal spread I have the Persona heart from the album. I'm going to be doing weekly reading vlogs for this readathon as well, so if you are interested in that, then subscribe down below. But the first prompt is for the song Persona, and it is the own voice book that represents you. And this is the one prompt that I could not find a book that represents me, and I feel like that's very sad. I was going to choose Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick because that is my all-time favorite paranormal romance guilty pleasure book, but I feel like the characters and everything don't really represent me as a person. And unfortunately, I haven't read a book that represents me at all. I know a lot of people chose Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell because she's a girl that likes to write fan fiction and she's kind of nerdy and stuff like that, but personally I didn't like the Fangirl book, and so I didn't want to read it again. So that's the one prompt I am probably not going to do, but I do have another book that may go well with that prompt as well, which I will be showing you in a second. The second prompt is Boy With Love, which is their most popular song from the Persona album because it was with Halsey and it plays on the radio all the time. And this is a romance book or book with love in the title. The first book I have is To All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han. It's a romance book and it has the word love in the title, so I hit both on the nail. I actually have never read this series before. I watched the movie on Netflix because I was going through the movies on Netflix and it seemed good and I loved the movie. If you don't know what it's about the main character named Laura Jean, who has these letters that she has wrote personally about all of the crushes that she has had in her entire life, and the letters are personally from her to her crushes. The letters get out and the letters are sent to her crushes that she has had, and the story proceeds where she has to deal with all of the guys that she's ever had a crush on confronting her about what she has written. So if you haven't seen the movie or read the book, I totally recommend either one. Obviously I haven't read the book yet, but I have a feeling I'm gonna love it if I loved the movie. So that's the first prompt. The next prompt is for Microcosmos, which is my personal favorite song on the album, just because I've watched so many of their concerts online, and when they're leaving the concert with that song playing in the background, I'm sure everybody is just so sad watching them leave the stage with that song. And that prompt is a book that means a lot to you or an author that changed your life. So this isn't really a book that means a lot to me. This is more of an author that changed my life. So this is the book Evermore by Alison Noel. And the reason why this author changed my life is because this was one of the first paranormal romance books I ever read that got me into pretty much reading in general. I've always read a lot as a kid, like Nancy Drew and things like that, but I found my passion for paranormal romance, paranormal books, or just young adult books like this in general from this series. I haven't read it in a really long time, but I remember having it downloaded onto my Nook back in 2009 when this book first came out. I was 11. This author has really changed my life in the perspective that I now know the types of books that I really love to read. This story is about a girl named Ever Bloom, That's the most like weirdest name ever, but we're just gonna ignore that. And her whole family dies in an accident, and then after the accident she can start to see people's auras, she can read people's thoughts, and it's kind of taken over her life where she can't focus on anything because all she can hear is other people's thoughts and feelings. And if she touches someone, she sees their whole life story. So she's very like introverted, she gets picked on a lot, she doesn't like touching people, people make fun of her because the way that she acts. And then she meets this guy named Damon, which obviously you guys know it's going to be a love story, but he can help her control her thoughts and listening to other people's auras and things like that. He helps her, and the story goes on from there. So this is one of the first paranormal romance books I ever read, and it just really changed my perspective on the whole genre in general, so that is why I chose this book. The next prompt is Make It Right, which I love this song. It's a book written by more than one author. I had 2 books that were written by more than one author, or 3. And one of them I read a couple weeks ago, so I didn't want to read it again. So this is the Wikipedia book. This is a modern day White Witch's Guide by Sean Robbins and Leanna Greenaway. So here's what it looks like. I've been wanting to read this. I bought it a couple months ago because I'm very interested in learning about Wicca. I'm not a very religious person, but Wicca in general just is really interesting to me, so I bought this to kind of just read about it. It's by 2 authors, but this can also go with the prompt that a voice book that represents me, because I just have a feeling that in the future this is going to be something that is really going to impact my life, like Wicca and that whole thing. So this kind of goes with 2 of the prompts. I'm excited to read this because it's like a modern guide, like a new age guide to Wicca, and it's easier to understand for like new age witches and everything. So I'm very excited to read this, and obviously the cover is stunning, as you guys can see. So that's the book that I chose for that. Next is the prompt for the song Home, and this is read a book with your BTS bias. The girl that has created this readathon, she actually made like her own BTS bookmarks that you can print out and use as a bookmark, so you read with your bias. I have a printer, but I don't have printer ink because I don't want to spend $60 on ink, so I won't be able to do that, but I'm going to just use one of my Yoongi photo cards and read with that. So the book that I chose for that is Wicked Fox by Kat Cho, or Cho, I don't know how she pronounces it. I've been wanting to read this book. It's based in Korea, so I just feel like it goes with the whole readathon very well. I've been wanting to read it, but I just haven't, so I'm going to read this with my BTS bookmark photo card. So I'm just gonna kind of read the what it's about because I don't know too much of what it's about, but I know it's based in Korea. It's about an 18-year-old named Gu Mi-young, and she is a Gumiho 9-tailed fox who survives by consuming the energy of men, which is like, what a queen. But she's also half human, so it's a little bit hard for her to consume the energy because she does care for people as well. So she only takes the lives of men who do terrible crimes, which I love. It sounds like a really powerful main character. I'm hoping she's not going to be annoying like a lot of main girl characters are in these stories. She finds this boy being attacked by a goblin in the forest, and she decides to reveal herself to help save his life. And while she's helping him, she loses something important to her, which is her fox bead, which is her Gumiho soul. Without that, she will die. So she lost it in the process of saving his life. His name is Ji-hoon. Kind of sounds like Johan from Monsta X, who is my bias. I'm just gonna imagine him the whole time, honestly. But it is a romance story, so I believe the story is just them trying to find her little like soul thing. I just love the front cover of it, like, oh, so cute. The next is for the song, and I have no idea how to pronounce this. It's like Haimi Vu, or it's like Jameis Vu. Don't know what language the song is in, so it's on the screen if you guys want to pronounce it yourself. I've never known how to pronounce the song, but it's a book about mental health, or a book you don't remember. So I actually chose a manga for this because I wanted to get a book that'll be a little bit easier to read, because these are pretty bigger reads, I guess you could say. So I chose Orange, and this is by Ichigo Takano, and this is volume 1. So this, I watched this anime and it broke my heart. I cried constantly. I think I watched the whole anime in like one day. It does have trigger warnings of suicide, obviously mental health and things like that. But it's about a girl named Naho, and she wakes up one morning and she receives a letter from her future self. And in this letter, her future self is telling her how she should talk to this certain boy each day. There's a new student at school, and he is very, very important to the story because sooner or later he commits suicide. And her future self in these letters are telling her present self what to do to prevent him from committing suicide. So it is very intense. The story is super intense because the main character is trying her best to prevent her new friend from committing suicide, and it is very stressful. And just watching the anime, like my heart and everything, like I was in suspense the entire time. It's a very, very good story. I loved it. It was heartbreaking, and it has a lot to do with mental health, obviously, because I mean, he commits suicide, so it does talk about very intense things like that. So if you can't handle that, I wouldn't recommend it. It's a really, really good anime or manga. So that's why I chose this, because I just feel like I just really want to read the manga because I love the anime. And the last one is Dionysius, which is also one of my favorite songs from the album. And this prompt is a diverse book or a book with Greek mythology. So I'm going to read Percy Jackson, the Lightning Thief. I don't have the physical book with me. It's at home with my dad because he was reading it, I think. Obviously, Percy Jackson is about Greek mythology. If I can't get that book back from him, then I'm just going to continue to read the second book in the Soul Screamer series by Rachel Vincent. This is about banshees, which from what I'm understanding is in Greek mythology. I could be 100% wrong, but I'm just going to continue to read this. I just finished the first book, but this is about a girl named Kaylee who can predict when someone is about to die because she has this urge to scream at the top of her lungs like banshees do. You don't really hear too many stories about banshees. I think this is the only story I've ever read about it, and I really, really loved the first book. So I'm moving on to the second book, which is called My Soul to Save. So if I can't get Percy Jackson, I'm going to use this as the prompt. I just really love the first book, and I just don't want to stop after the first book and forget everything that happened. So here is my TBR for the readathon of the soul. Like I said, I will put all the information for the creator of this readathon down below so you guys can follow her, and I will be doing weekly reading vlogs in the next couple weeks. It ends September 20th, so I have a month to read all these books. Will I be able to do it? I don't know, but I will try my best. Everybody go stan BTS. Also, I went to the InFact concert a couple days ago, and I want everybody who likes K-pop to stan InFact because they're super talented and underrated, and I'm just gonna say that. Everybody go stan InFact as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.